AusTrakka. And just for context, the Australian context where we built AusTrakka is that we have state-based health jurisdictions. So we have 8 different states and territories. They own the data in general. And when there is an outbreak investigation or we want to have a national surveillance effort, obviously pathogens don't respect state boundaries. And this has traditionally been one of the issues people have had to wrestle with. It's almost like coordinating surveillance between countries. So in response, there was an effort. The conversations actually started back in 2015. It took several years to get these governance committees and processes set up. It was a major effort. I won't really have time to talk about that at all, but there is an AusTrakka poster, which I think is number 35, and I encourage you to go and talk to Tiet, who will be with that poster if you're interested in that. So that effort was ready just in time for us to have a pandemic. So the very first version of AusTrakka was built in a great hurry to handle the COVID data, and then there's been kind of continual development since then. So what we have now is a surveillance platform where the model is that the different jurisdictions upload their sequence data and their contextual sample metadata. The analysis is carried out by a trusted national analysis team, and the governance and the analysis team are both distributed. They have members across the jurisdictions. And then the analysis results and the appropriate contextual metadata is made available back to the jurisdictions, but the sequence data is not, right? So they don't have to share that directly with one another. So this is our basic model for the way the data flows through the system. The public health labs over on the left there can upload sequence data and contextual sample and sequence metadata through either the web interface or through a command line interface. They get real-time validation as they upload the data, which helps us to keep it clean. So just basic things like the dates in the right format, and if you have a controlled variable, is it one of the allowed values? So that really helps making the data usable, that it is validated at the point where it is uploaded. The data they put into the system is something they still own. I should probably have said this, part of the reason we built this is that some of these variables are things that people are currently not comfortable putting into global public repositories. So we needed a semi-private system, at least at this stage. So they own all this data. We don't own any of the data. They can choose to share it with one or more projects, or 0 or more projects, really. And a project, these green boxes on the right, could be an ongoing surveillance effort, or it could be a particular outbreak investigation. And they are configurable so that only the approved metadata variables are going to appear in any particular project context. So you won't necessarily see all the available sample metadata in a particular project view. And not every jurisdiction may be participating in every investigation. The access to those is role-based, so we have a kind of a quite granular individual role-based access system to all the different powers and all the different pieces of data. The sequence data is not made available to the participating jurisdictions, but it is put on is synced across to the analysis server, where the analysis team will analyze it, and the results will go back into the project context. I'm just thinking if there's anything else I needed to say then. All right, sorry. So at the moment, this is hosted on the Azure cloud, and the analysis server is on-prem, just because we found it more cost-effective to do the analysis on-prem. But we are working towards a fully containerized version where the whole platform can run anywhere, because we would like this to be useful to other people. We'd like it to be able to run potentially in countries where there is no Azure cloud node or no AWS node or whatever else. So just to give you, I won't have time to go through the whole system, but just to give you a quick feel for what the system looks like. People can submit data through the web interface. It looks like this. They can just drag and drop a CSV file or an Excel spreadsheet, and they will get back validation messages in the browser. They can also submit sequence data in the same way. So on this screen, I've drag and dropped 6 FASTQ paired end Illumina files in, and it's kind of detected that it looks like 3 pairs and given me a chance to correct it if it was wrong. And we also have this command line interface, which again, I won't go through it all. I just want to say that it exists. To people who are used to command line tools, it's got a kind of familiar hierarchical command structure. It really covers all aspects of the system. We use it for administration. The thing that it's most often used for by most users is for submitting data. So some people would prefer to put metadata or sequence data in via the command line. And it hits the same API, so the responses you get back will be exactly the same in either case. And we found this was well worthwhile writing. It actually makes development easier to have a command line interface. The effort is absolutely worthwhile. So slightly ambitiously in a short talk, I'm just going to play a quick video of what some of the visualization aspects look like in a project view, just to give you a feel for it. Not everything. So when you log into AusTrakka, you only see the projects in which you have an appropriate role. You don't see all the projects in the system. So this would just be a handful of them. I'm not sure that's playing. There we go, thank you. Right, so this particular account would just have access to a handful of projects. This one I'm showing is just a demo project, it's not real data. Each project has a dashboard, which is like a real-time snapshot of what the data in the project currently looks like, and these are configurable per project. Oh, sorry, I think we've gone forward. We have. Yeah, so each project gets a dashboard. These are just a real-time view of what's currently available in the project. Could you play this video? Maybe guys, thanks. There's also a sample line list, so just a tabular view of the available metadata, which you can search and sort and filter and export and do all the things. So this will contain the rows are the samples that have been shared by the contributing organizations. The columns are going to be the approved metadata variables only, as well as some of the columns will be derived from the analysis carried out by the analysis team. So for instance, the CGMLST values. We also have interactive plots, which again have exactly the same metadata available. We've just added maps. We're building on those at the moment to add more features to those. And we have a bunch of just standard plots that you might expect. So for instance, this one is an epidemiological curve. It's got all the same variables available which you can configure to be viewed on those plots. So here I'm coloring it by CGMLST, which would have come from the analysis, and then faceting it by the jurisdiction that contributed it, just as an example. And finally, the last thing I'll show you is we have this interactive tree viewer. So the results of the phylogenetic analysis, again with the same metadata variables available for view on the tree. These trees have various features, which I won't have time to go through all of them, but we could put the metadata variables into the leaf labels, or we could use them to color the nodes, or we could put them in as kind of metadata blocks, like a heat map style view against the tree. And every tree has an attached sample table. Anything you select on the tree will be selected in the table and vice versa. So this is a nice way to do a metadata search for the exact cohort of samples you're interested in and then find them on the tree. And we also have some nice navigation features. So just there, I just jumped to the smallest subtree that contains the samples of interest. And we had to do this really early on because the COVID trees were big, right? People were not going to navigate those manually. We needed navigation features. Okay, so getting towards the end of time. So I just want to put up some of the lessons learned through this development process. When we started out, we thought we were going to be concentrating on tree visualizations and bioinformatics pipelines. And it turned out to be lots of other priorities that we kind of hadn't anticipated and lots of other parts of the effort. So in our particular context, the data access and the permission system was a big deal because it just really helped to build trust. If you had this role-based access and people knew exactly who would be allowed to see what, it made them much more willing to share data. So we spent a fair bit of time on that system. There was probably, although we're on the cloud, there's a lot of cloud expertise required for the kind of system that we were deploying. We were lucky in that we had a person, I've said dedicated DevOps, but actually half software developer, half DevOps engineer, so we were very lucky there. We spent more time than we probably expected on just user support and data management, chasing things up. There's not the data in this project that we expected. Did you share it with the one you intended to share it with? Did you share it at all? This kind of thing. I think I said before that, but the kind of modular architecture that we had has been very useful because the system has no opinion on what the pathogen is or what analysis is going to be run, right? It's just a system. So everything is configurable, and the pipelines can pull the data, and then they can push the results, and we can design the dashboards, and we can configure the variables, right? Even the metadata fields are not baked in, right? We configure them on the fly. Scalability, we started during COVID, so we thought about scalability from the start, but there is this continual choice you have to make between implementing a feature that will work right now and maintaining scalability for the next pandemic, right? Because that's what we're meant to be ready for. And just finally, you've seen a lot of talks about data standards and ontologies. Because we started in a pandemic, there was not a phage standard for SARS-CoV-2 at the point where we started. It was just a list of fields, and it's grown from there as we've added more pathogens. So one of our goals is to organize those fields and do a bit of a reorganization of those. But we have tried to maintain compatibility with external standards wherever possible, at least on the conceptual level. So there's like a one-to-one mapping between the fields, and we kind of know what those are. All right, and I'll be very happy to talk to anyone who is around. Thank you for your time. I think I'm right at time.